In this episode of Safe House, we're going to be talking about suitability. You're a single person trying to understand if you're suitable for your future forever person, or if you're in a relationship, if you're married, and you're trying to re-understand what it means to be suitable for the person that you're connected to. Stay tuned. We're going to have some tools from a very powerful couple in order to help you out. We'll be right back. What's happening, Safe House?
What's up, Safe House? We back.
We are back again.
Yes.
Again with another episode. And as you can see, we are where? We're on the couch.
We're on the couch. We are on the couch, and you know exactly what that means. That means we got some special guests.
We got a powerful, powerful couple here to talk to you about some tools. Like we said in the intro, some tools to help you understand suitability. But before we get into that, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications so you know when we publish content. Give us a comment below, especially after you hear what we have today, because we want to make sure that YouTube knows that what we got going on here is good. Your comments will let it know that this word needs to be spread throughout the digital world.
Yeah. You know why I'm excited about this episode? I'm excited about this episode because we have been talking about leadership and purpose. And whenever we talk about different topics, we try to give you guys tools. And so what I'm really excited about is that this couple, they've created this workbook that can actually give us some tools as we're striving towards, better leadership in relationships, better purpose, really getting us to that place where we understand our purpose. Because like I said, I feel like the more we understand our purpose and how we lead, it makes how we fit into those roles. It gives us more definition for that. And I just think it just makes us better.
When you say workbook, is it coloring involved?
No, I mean, I do like a good coloring workbook, okay? But what I love about this book is it's self-reflective. So it could be a little bit of journaling, but it should make you question, like you said, suitability.
Okay.
Am I being suitable? Because one of the things about suitability is it can change.
Yeah.
I think about a suit that you put on. It's like the suit that I wore when we first got married, I can't wear that suit anymore. I've actually kind of like outgrown it.
Wear your suit.
Right.
No, can I wear that.
Well, I'm just saying the size. I'm just saying the size because once again, and so that's what I mean about suitability.
What you
because
trying to say about me?
I said about me. I didn't. I know I've grown in more ways than one.
I've grown.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm saying me, but what I'm also saying, I'm talking about clothes, but what I'm also talking about too is that it's the same thing. The longer you're married, you're growing. And so you do want to be able to make sure that you're still suitable for the person that you're with because they've changed.
Yes, they have.
And so that's what I'm saying. That's why this workbook is very important because sometimes we don't go back and reflect on what that looks like as we're growing and evolving as a couple. So I'm very excited to be able even for us to be able to get some tips about suitability.
So without further ado, we'd like to introduce to you the Reverends Murphy, the pastors.
Yes. Welcome to the couch.
Hey, thanks for having us sit on the couch.
So glad to be here.
To sit on the couch. Yes. Only special people get to sit on the couch is what I understand.
Yes, it is. Yes.
It depends upon what you mean by special.
Well, we're the special. We're short but special.
Right. So tell us, introduce yourselves to our audience and tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Okay. Go ahead, babe.
Cool beans. So my name is Joseph Murphy. I am executive pastor along with my wife at Dwelling Place International Church. I have been fortunate to be with this beautiful woman for almost 33 years. And that's a total of almost 33 years because, unfortunately, we were divorced for 30 days.
Oh.
That's a unique number.
Yeah. 30-day divorce.
Right. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, Divorce for 30 Days. I feel that book.
Okay. I'm going to be looking for that one.
Right,
Yeah.
because we didn't get it right on the first take.
I see the title of it, Separated.
Right.
In little print for 30 days.
Right, for 30 days. Right. Exactly. I love it. Right. I love it.
We'll give you your residual.
Yeah, I like it.
You'll make hundreds of dollars on that.
Right. And so we are blessed with 5 wonderful kids.
All right.
Young adults,
Yep, that's right. They're
which
not
makes us
children
empty
anymore.
nesters.
That's
All
right.
right.
Yay, empty nesters.
Yay, empty
All
nesters.
right.
Yeah. And so we have 5, soon to be 6 grandchildren. And so we're excited about that. I have 1 grandson, and prayerfully, sometime in the near future, I'll have a second one.
Okay.
But for now, we have, 5, soon to have 6 grandchildren. And we're just excited about that. And, we're happy to be, here at the Safe House where ministry is being done to help all types of relationships. And we really do sincerely believe that our workbook can assist in relationships being better.
So I think it's very interesting because you guys said that you've been divorced for just, like I said, for 30 days.
Yeah.
And like I said, and we're laughing about it because it's, but once again, and we're talking about suitability.
Mm-hmm.
So even for you guys to kind of come to that conclusion, there had to be a space where you felt like you were unsuitable for each other. And so when I think about unsuitability, it's like, we're not working.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be with you anymore.
That's right.
So I'd have to imagine that part of this workbook was kind of birthed through, like you said, that experience, and then just the experience of just being married for almost 33 years. So kind of give us a brief description of what that might look like, for somebody who's thinking about using the workbook. And like you said, for over that period, like what made you guys think you were unsuitable?
I didn't like him. He didn't like me. We just kept clashing. For me, that's what it was. I wasn't ready to commit to the work that takes to sustain a marriage. You know what I'm saying? So when you're not ready, when your heart is not in it, the smallest little things can make you throw in the towel and be like, I'm done. It's not worth the fight. You know what I'm saying? But in actuality, it's worth the fight. You know what I'm saying? Marriage, it can be great. You have to work it though. You have to be willing to work it. You have to be willing to see yourself for who you are and also see your forever person for who they are.
Mm-hmm. So how does the workbook help what your wife just described?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent question, Alana. Just to touch a little bit on what she said and then to answer your question directly, we were not suitable, but the problem was we were not suitable from the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good. Mm-hmm.
And so what the marriage workbook and even though it's a marriage workbook, I don't want people to get it twisted. It is definitely a tool that can help singles. Because had we had this workbook before we got married, what the workbook does, it allows you to take a self-reflective journey. There are practical exercises. There's areas to journal. There are scriptures there that help you to understand who the real enemy is and not your spouse. And so for us, when we got together at first, we didn't care about suitability because we were in that zone of, probably not living right, to be completely honest, to be transparent, and so we ended up getting married, not understanding that we weren't suitable for one another, and also not understanding that there needed to be a time of self-reflection so that we can make sure we were ready for any type of relationship, for that matter, but more importantly, even for marriage. And so what the workbook does is it forces individual accountability for the purpose of corporate responsibility. So that two people can come together and say, hey, listen, rather than complain about you being a bad spouse, let me see how better can I be as a spouse to make sure I'm doing everything God created me to be as an individual, whether that's you being single or in your marriage, because sometimes you can be married long enough, and we're a testament to this now. Like I said, being married 32 years, seasons change in your marriage.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. Yeah.
And when those seasons change, you have to, your suitability will shift along with it. It's like a settling house, right? And so now your suitability has to change, which means that you need to pull out the workbook and do some more self-reflection and say, okay, how can I be suitable to my spouse in this season? That's important versus how can I make my spouse be suitable to me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to challenge y'all a little bit here, right?
Sure.
If that's okay.
Yeah.
Challenge.
So once again, from what you described, both very spiritual individuals, right? Both churched, right? Been in the church for all your lives, probably,
Absolutely.
right? And so when you look back at your younger selves, and I know you built this book based upon your own experiences, things you've experienced both personally and in ministry, whatever have you. So at what point would your younger self have been open to this type of workbook, right? So because when you said, hey, because what I love about what you said is, even though we're church, even though we're involved in ministry, I didn't like him, he didn't like me, right? Yeah. And so I'm sure there are people out there in that exact same situation. Right? They're showing up in church, they're looking clean, prim, and proper, and ready for ministry.
Yeah.
But at the bottom of the sort of barrel is, I don't like him and he don't like me. And so at what point in that, if you look back at your younger self, would you have been even open to using this type of tool?
Well, I'll say it from this perspective, and then my wife can say her opinion of it, but pretty much all of my life being in ministry, I've been thrust into a leadership role. Well, it would have been extremely advantageous for me back then to understand that I need to always be in a place of self-reflection of myself. So the workbook would have helped me self-reflect, because now it forces me to look at my strengths and it forces me to look at my weaknesses. Because again, the workbook, it's not, even though it's called a marriage strengthening workbook, it helps you in every leadership aspect. A leader as a husband, a leader as a wife, a leader in the ministry, because you have to be able to be strategic enough through this workbook saying, hey, here's an area where I need a lot of prayer or I need a lot of work. And so I would love to believe that if I had the workbook back then, the younger Joseph, I think maybe we don't get divorced, or maybe we don't be, maybe we're not unsuitable earlier. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I am, and I could be wrong, guys, I'm not a proponent of, I'm not the type of person that believes, oh, we had to go through this to come to this point. I don't agree with that. I think that God is so merciful that he detours us, yes. But I believe that God has a prescribed path for all of us.
Yeah.
And if we just were, again, self-reflective enough or spent enough intentional intimacy with God, that we could see some things that will help make us a better leader in every aspect, on our jobs, with our children, with our spouse, as pastors of church. And so, which again, we happen to actually also have been pastors. We're executive pastors now where we are, but, and even when we pastored, we didn't do a good job of that because, at the time we didn't have this tool, and so I would say, I would have loved for someone to say, hey, here's a tool to help make you become a better leader overall in every aspect of your life, because now you're forced to look in the mirror and hold yourself accountable to being what God says you should be, not what the world says you should be, or anyone else for that matter. What do you think, honey?
That's good.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that's good.
She's a woman of many, many words.
Many, many words. So for me, as like telling my younger self, or if, at what stage at my when I was younger, if I had have had that tool, it would have helped me, first of all, to know who I even am, who I am, you know what I'm saying? So when you don't know who you are, you're
That's
out
good.
there.
Yeah.
And so if I had someone to give me this tool, it could help me come to the realization, I'm better than this. Because, like I say, coming up in church, I was at church. I wasn't in church.
Right.
And so I did a lot of things that the world would do, and so this tool, again, self-reflective, will help you to, first of all, know who you are. And once you know who you are, then you can better appreciate it, if that makes sense.
I do, because I think one of the things we had talked about was, you said there's a lot of scriptures in there. And so I'd have to imagine that some of the scriptures directly relate to the role of the man and the woman, the husband and the wife. And so that kind of, like you said, that's that self-reflection space of really understanding like who I am. Because we talked about that in the last episode about understanding what my role is, because like you said, we want to get married, but do I really understand the responsibility of being a wife? Do I really, does he understand the responsibilities of being the husband? And not according to what the world is saying, but according to what God is saying. So what would be some of the scriptures that would like be in there that would cause people to be self-reflective about, like you said, about figuring out who they are as they're stepping into these new spaces of relationships?
Yeah, so there's a part in the workbook that deals with spiritual warfare. And it is based out of Ephesians, right? And so it talks about establishing who we're fighting. And oftentimes, because you're present, I'm fighting you.
Right.
But the realization is that the workbook teaches you that, the person is present, but there's also a spirit present that's influencing their behavior, their language, the tone of their voice, all of those things. And so most of the time, because most of us don't get either premarital counseling or even deliverance in most cases, and I would recommend both if you're going to get married,
That's right.
whether you're in church or not in church, because we all come with inherent biases. We all come with
that's true.
traumas. And most of us don't even know the traumas that we have until we get into a moment of conflict, and then we find ourselves acting out of our traumas. And so the workbook teaches, hey, listen, I'm not fighting my spouse. Or it prepares you for marriage to let you know that when you and your husband get into conflict, it's not your husband or it's not your wife. You're fighting against spiritual principalities and things of that nature. And so that's how it'll assist in letting you know, like, no, I'm not going to sit here and argue with a fleshly person, more so than I'm going to pray about what's going on in my marriage and be strategic. The one thing most marriages don't understand, even Christian marriages, is that the devil loves division. Because even the devil understands that marriage is the greatest place of agreement. You roll over, there's your agreement right there.
Right, that's good. Yeah.
You see what
That's
I'm
good,
saying? And so he doesn't want us to touch and agree. He doesn't want us to, the Bible says one could chase 1,000, 2, 10,000. He doesn't want us in spiritual warfare against him and his kingdom. And so, he'll sow a seed of discord or bring division. And because we have so much accessibility to the world, most couples, Christian or not, are influenced, some even unknowingly brainwashed by movies, music, and things of that nature. And you find yourself responding to conflict in that manner when the Bible clearly shows you that no, there's an enemy, but it's not your spouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, the word I use a lot is just Christian worldview. We've really lost
Yeah.
a lot of the Christian worldview. Even sometimes in ministry in the church, we use a worldly worldview to resolve what is sin problems, right? Here's where I'm going to be in violent spiritual agreement with you, right? So I believe the enemy plants, just like in a battle, he plants these landmines. And you know, in the field, a landmine is something that we bury, right? That later on is designed to blow up when you walk over it, right? You know, and so what's a landmine? Like, so I believe one of the landmines is that the enemy likes to redefine language.
That's right.
Likes to redefine words, right? And so when you talked about role, what he's blurred, and it seems innocent, but we've blurred the role and value. Right?
That's good.
That I'm not valued unless I have the same role. But you can have a different role and be of the same or greater value, right?
That's good.
And so when you look in these relationships, you have people that don't want to do self-reflection. When he says, well, you've relegated me to just this. I'm just supposed to do this. I'm just supposed to be the wife. No, you're not just.
Right? That's good.
There's way more value in the role than you see. Now, God has an order and there's roles, but that doesn't make you less valuable in the eyes of the kingdom. So that's where I think your workbook will, in that self-reflection sometimes, we don't realize how our trauma may cause us to devalue our role, right?
That's right.
And therefore we take it out on our spouse. So I agree with you on that.
And here's the other thing too, and this is something that we'll teach later, but not necessarily directly in the book, but I want to mention it based on something you just said. When we begin to work the workbook and begin to reflect on who God called us to be, we then begin to take on the character of God. And so as we take on the character of God, then I'll understand the value of myself to the point my wife made earlier. And if I understand the value of myself, I can then appreciate the value of my spouse or even my future spouse. Because that's the problem. Like, most people don't value themselves enough to understand and appreciate the value of someone else, or whether it's a potential spouse or whether it's a current spouse. And so the workbook says, hey, listen, I'm going to spend this intimate time with God, self-reflect, and understand that I'm supposed to be taking on the character of God. Because to speak to the point of what you just said about value and worth and roles, right? So the world has made the word role a dirty word.
That's good.
And unfortunately, some in the church have adopted that. And so we've relegated our wives to the kitchen and the bedroom, the kitchen and the bedroom. And the truth of the matter is, when you look up that word, the phrase when God says in Genesis, I'm going to create a suitable helper for Adam. Most people just think he meant he's creating Eve so that Adam would not have sexual interactions with the animals. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. So there's a Hebrew term that comes from those two words, suitable helper. It's called ezer kenegdo. And what it means is a strong helper. And so what God did was he created a woman, not just a wife. That's important.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
He created a woman to be a suitable helper for man, not just for Adam. And so we get that twisted because we think right there, God is so laser focused on creating just Adam and Eve that term is just for them, but it's for every man and every woman. And so when you understand ezer kenegdo, you get the terminology strong helper. It's what God is to Israel. Whenever you look at God and his relationship to Israel, that terminology shows up right there. Ezer kenegdo. God is a strong helper to Israel. No one would ever say that God has a lesser role, would they?
No, that's
right. Yeah.
So if God doesn't have a lesser role, then the woman, or in marital situations, the wife it's impossible for the wife to have a lesser role. But again, we've been so inundated by the world until we've relegated our wives to second-class citizens, when the truth is There are Deborahs out there.
Mm-hmm.
There are Priscillas out there.
There's Esther's out there.
There's Esther's out there. And you cannot consider them lesser roles.
Yeah.
Deborah was the judge. She ran things. She was a warrior.
Yeah.
That's not a lesser role. And so when you work the workbook, you begin to say, okay, there's value in man, and there's value in women. There's value in myself, and there's value in my spouse. And then you begin to get to that place where now your behavior begins to revolve around the character of God as such that you begin to line up and strengthen your marriage. So when those times of shifting takes place, because we already talked about, suitability shifts, it changes.
It does. Absolutely it does.
But if you're working the workbook and if you're in God's face, then you're going to shift right along with it. And you're going to always pursue wanting to be the suitable helper for your spouse.
And it's not going to take a lot of work. Yeah. It's not going to be a hardship to make that shift because you're already in that space of spending time with God.
That's right.
All right, so for our viewers out there, so someone watching this video, it says, okay, how do I know I'm in need of this, right? So I got a nice message. How do I know I need it? What are some of the symptoms that I'm experiencing in my relationship that say, man, it's time for us to do this, right? What am I experiencing directly? What do we experience as a couple? If I'm single, what are some of the, characteristics, negative things that I may experience, done, said that says, you know what, I may need to do some self-reflection?
One thing is if you see yourself in a space of it's all about me.
That's good.
And not considering your spouse.
That's good.
Mm-hmm. That's something, that's probably a trigger that, maybe I need to reevaluate this. You know what I'm saying? Are you concerned about your spouse? Does it matter to you, if your spouse is okay? You know what I'm saying? Those are some triggers.
What if I go to the Church of Tupac? I got to get mine. You got to get yours. No, look, that's a worldly point of view, right?
Tupac. No, I probably have been Tupac in our marriage a couple of times. Mine is the bad words, but just that whole attitude, like you said in the music.
The church girl over there.
Right. So,
you heard her say she liked Tupac, right? So
not the the language.
There is no other Tupac. It's just Tupac. She's trying to make it like it's Tupac. Just because it's
in my world, it's
Tupac. She's just Tupac.
Anywho,
so I'm not a Tupacian. I don't know the words to the songs, but the I gotta get mine or what you just say. I gotta get mine. You gotta get yours.
I gotta get mine.
If we get on the same page, we both gonna get it. If we doing it God's way, we both gonna get it.
Right.
How about I'm gonna get yours and then you gonna get mine?
We just swapping.
That's true. That is true.
But I think to answer your question, and my wife, what my wife said was excellent as well. I think that even if you're not married, that there's a level of selfishness that builds into any relationship you're in.
Yeah, that's good.
And so your friends will tell you, oh, you're a selfish person. Or your coworkers will tell you, you're a selfish person. And so signs of needing this workbook, or, let me say this too, just even beyond a sign, it can never hurt to be self-reflective in any phase of your life.
Yeah, that's true.
There you go.
Yeah.
It can never hurt to be self-reflective. It can always be encouraging and take you to a place of improvement in who you are. And I don't know anybody that's in their right mind that would not say, I want to improve. And so to me, especially if you're looking to be married, you want to be the best version of yourself for your forever person. If you're already married, you want to make sure that day in and day out, I'm the best version of myself for my spouse. And so in order to do that, you can't spend time counting their faults, but you have to spend time saying, how can I best be a better version of myself? And so for me, yeah, I do agree though, Dre, there are signs, and some of those signs are, am I being selfish? Some of those signs are, why am I just being tolerated by people and not celebrated by people?
Yeah, that's a good one too. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And in all honesty though, it takes a level of humility to admit that you need to,
right.
to improve your suitability. Because again, we're not just talking about marriage. You want to be suitable for every relationship. You don't want to go to church and people looking at you like, I'm not sitting over there today. Because their attitude is just, and people come to church with bad attitudes. And I can guarantee you, we can point that back to them not self-reflecting and taking time to say, okay, how can I best be a better person or be suitable for any environment that I'm in?
It fits along the theme of leadership that we've talked about, right? The phrase we often say is like, your test of leadership is just look back, right? If there's nobody following you,
Right.
then you're probably not leading, right? Or if you have to find yourself in a place where you have to force people to follow you, you're probably not leading. Usually leaders, people that are good leaders, people clamor to follow good leaders, including your current spouse or your future forever person, because they're getting value from you, right? So what you just described to me is that, wait a minute, if I'm not just learning how to be a better spouse, I'm not just learning how to be good in a relationship, I'm learning how to lead well.
Absolutely.
I'm learning how to be somebody that people can extract value from.
That's
right? And so to me, a symptom is, do you desire leadership? Do you desire to be the one that people can lean into, yet you find yourself in a place where nobody's leaning into you? In fact, people are avoiding you, right?
Yes.
You find that it's like, wait, I'm in my house with my spouse, but yet there's no credibility in anything that I say, right? To me, that is an indicator that it's like, wait a minute, maybe I need to invest in my ability to lead. I need to do some self-reflection about how I lead. And so to me, that's the key, right? Being able to really locate that.
Do you think that, so we talk about love, like being the foundation, like in any relationship. Do you think that love just by itself makes you suitable? I've known like couples, how like you're dating somebody and you're like, the two of you may not be suitable for each other, but you're like, but we love each other. And so you spend this extraordinary amount of time trying to make yourself suitable. It's like trying to fit into a circle into a square peg. And so to me, like you said, even being able to have that tool, the workbook will, like you said, even in that self-reflection, so that way I can see, okay, am I trying to fit into a space, or am I trying to be with somebody who's not ready for that space? Have you how does that work?
So one thing that, again, part of the self-reflection requires is humility.
And honesty.
And
intellectual honesty. We use that phrase a lot.
And definitely honesty. But here's the thing. So I want to answer your question by saying this: yes and no. And the reason why I say yes and no is because when you look at love, the love you're talking about is not the love that the Bible's talking about.
Okay.
And so when people say they love each other, they don't 1 Corinthians 4-7 love each other. 1 Corinthians 13, 4-7.
Yeah.
They don't love each other that way.
Right.
Because if they loved each other that way, then that would mirror the workbook, which says I have to self-reflect, and then I have to love my spouse beyond their faults.
Yeah.
I can't keep a record of what they did. And so most people don't really love each other that way. And the one thing about the workbook is, back to the part of reflecting, if I'm going to be a leader, I have to understand that God's never going to misguide my abilities, right? And so I got to be honest and humble myself that I may not have qualities to be a particular type of leader. And that's okay that you don't have it in that moment, but you have to be humble and honest enough to say, but I'm going to work on it so that I can become that. Reason being is because just because you have a gift to do something, you might be a gifted preacher. You may be a gifted praise and worship leader, but you may not be an effective pastor, an effective leader. You may be a breadwinner, but not be an effective leader in your home.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And so the workbook says, Joe Murphy, you have some things to work on to be a leader in your home. Me and my wife had an open and honest conversation on our way here. And there are some things that I need to work on to be a better leader. My wife didn't say I wasn't a leader. And see, that's where, if you're not careful, if you're not self-reflecting and understanding that I need to be delivered of my traumas and my triggers, I could have took it personally and said, well, I tell you what, we're not doing none of this and let's just turn around and go back home. No, I have to self-reflect and say, you know what she said is right. And if I'm going to be suitable for this woman, even though it's, I can't rest on 32 years. I can't be okay with just, we're successful for 32 years, because people get divorced all the time.
That is true.
40
I see it all the time, every day. Yeah.
And so, I'm listening to what my wife said to me on the ride up here, and I'm self-reflecting, and now I have work that I have to go back and do, which means I got to pull out the workbook myself and continue to say, yep, you got to hit this, you got to do this, you got to journal, you got to read, you got to get intimate with God, because ultimately, if my character is not matching God's character, I'm not going to be suitable, not only for my wife, I'm not going to be suitable for anybody.
I like that part. Like you said, I'm not going to be suitable for anybody. So I'm thinking, because there are some other points in the book that I want to be able to bring out, and so maybe we could talk about that as we continue the episode, or just do a different episode, because I want to be able to talk about the prayers, because, like you said, because to me we've just talked about, like you said, just how important self-reflection is, because everybody has to be able to do that. But I also want to be able to talk about why prayer is essential in this phase of suitability. So what do you think about that?
You feeling a part two?
I'm feeling a part two. I really am feeling a part two.
Sure.
Yeah.
Part two.
Yeah, because I think that's important.
All right. So before we finish part one, people are like, okay, we love the Murphys. We got it. We see what we need to do. I see how I fit. What do I do? How do I link up with y'all? How do I get this book? How do I get this workbook? What's the next step?
Yeah, so very easy. You can go to AmazonBooks.com and you can look for Marriage Strengthening Workbook and make a purchase. You can actually get a physical paperback book, or it also comes in e-reader form, so you could download it straight to your Kindle. If you would like to have us come and teach a class or do something of the sort, we would be glad to come out and do that. You can reach us at our email, which is
guru.min at gmail.com.
Yep, that's GURU
MIN. Yeah.
I love it.
All right.
At Gmail.
I love it.
And for those of y'all that were caught up in their wizardry right there and how well they did that, we'll also have the links in the description where you click on. You'll also see the links below us in the lower thirds there. So have no fear. You'll be able to click and go, because if you're feeling it right now, click right now. Go get the book off Amazon. Don't delay. So that way, when we go through part two, you will have some context.
Absolutely. Yeah.
On how we go through this thing. So thank you for this first part.
Yeah.
We look forward to digging into this second part.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Right. Any last words for this episode before we close it out?
Go on, give them your last words, babe. You know what you want to
Not
say.
last words, but closing words.
Closing
for this
words.
episode.
Close this. How would you close this episode out?
I would just say this to the people. Don't just survive, thrive. The workbook gives you open assessment so that you can have honest growth.
Listen, if you want to thrive and grow, and like you said, it's the thing that I heard the most in this part was the self-reflection and the assessment, and why that's so important, whether you're married or you're looking for your forever person. That's the piece that I got.
All right. Well, that one's in the books. Remember, like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. You got to be notified so you can get part 2.
Part 2.
All right.
Deuces.
We love you, Safe House. And as we end every episode, we end it with a
Peace.